Shalom. Welcome back to another video. And as always, before I get started, I would like to give all the praise, honor, and glory to the beloved Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace, love, and salutation to you, Aki, pushing this word and believe in this word, as well as you few sincere Akwath believe in this word. To you all, I say Shalom, and may the blessing of election be upon your houses. It's your fellow servant Malachi from the GMS Orlando camp, back with another quick lesson. And as always, I pray it be edifying to the hopeful elect. All right, the title of this lesson is going to be, As the Nations Sober Up, His Enchantments Are Wearing Off. All right, talking about the so-called white man, because we know that he strengthened himself not in the Most High, but in his wickedness and everything that falls under that umbrella. Okay, lies, deceit, fraud. All right, these are the things that he strengthened himself in, man. He doesn't strengthen himself in the righteous things, integrity, leadership, okay, order. These things are foreign to him, man. Okay, so like I said, he strengthened himself through his lies and his deceit, all right, which is his right hand. This is his strength, man. Okay, through sorcery, through the enchantments, and through the influence that he had over the nations. This is how he maintained control over the narrative. Okay, through his democracy, the philosophies, the ideologies, all of these things, man. Okay, but now we're seeing him lose control of the narrative, man, tremendously. As the conflict continues with Iran, and the tiny tops in the U.S., okay, we're hearing one thing from mainstream media news on this side saying that, okay, you know, it's not all that bad, and, you know, it looks like we're winning. And then, you know, when you go look at the interviews of these prime ministers and these officers of the military from Iran, they're saying otherwise. Okay, and I believe them, man, because you can tell by their spirit, you can tell by their countenance that they're not worried about a damn thing. When on the other hand, you got, you know, the U.S. begging for the NATO nations to get involved, man. All right, so they're being embarrassed before the whole world, man. They're being stripped of their dominance. And it's a beautiful thing to see, because we know that this is prophecy. As it says in Jeremiah 49:10, the Lord is going to make Esau bare. Okay, he's being shown before the whole congregation, man. He was walking through and fro. He was walking to and fro on the earth, all right, as this big bad wolf. Okay, but now he's being showed to be a coward. He's being showed to be insignificant. Okay, and the Lord have made these small among the heathen, man. Okay, but you know, like I said, through the sorceries and through the enchantments, this is how he's gained and maintained control over the nations, man. Okay, so let's start with the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. In verse 15, it says, Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. So this has been, you know, the tactic of Babylon the Great for ages, man. Putting that bottle to the other nations to make them drink, so that they can uncover their nakedness. All right, they can take advantage of them, man. Like I said, through their democracy, through their philosophies, through their rudiments, through all these things. But now we're in a time where, you know, those nations are sobering up. And they're sobering up because they see the true nature of this devil, man. And they're starting to wake up. They're starting to arise from that slumber. They're starting to snap out of that illusion, that ruse that they were in. All right? And that started, you know, with the prophets. The men of the Lord being out there in the highways and byways, declaring these devils' ways to their faces, man. And then the rest of the world followed right behind, okay? Because the Spirit of the Lord had to be put down in the earth for these things to be even declared in the first place, okay? Like I said, starting with the prophets. The prophets standing up and calling shit how it is, okay? Nobody else was standing up and declaring these devils' ways to their faces, saying that they're the devil, saying that, you know, these elite banking families, you know, are basically the root of evil, man. Okay, starting with their asses. All right, this is verse 16. It says, Thou art filled with shameful glory. All right, and they're being shamed right before the whole entire world, like I said, because they're being stripped of their dominance. They used to be looked at as the most powerful militant nation in the world, but now everybody else they don't got their artillery up. So what now? The only thing America has left, okay, is their pride. Them feeling like they don't need anybody, right? Trump just said, yeah, we went to NATO, but they did not, helping us, but we don't need anybody. So this devil, he's speaking great things, man, and he's going to have to find out the hard way, okay? Verse 16, it says, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. All right, so the same cup that Babylon the Great has forced these other nations to drink of, the Lord is going to force Babylon the Great to drink out of that same cup. Therefore, Babylon the Great's nakedness is going to be exposed before the whole entire world, man. All right, verse 16 from the top, thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, excuse me, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Okay, every time you see DJ Donald Trump on a damn interview, he's lying his ass off. He's saying that, we're putting belt to ass on Iran. Okay, we destroyed the majority of their aerial defense, when it's the other way around. When you look at these prime ministers and you look at these officers of the military over there in Iran, you can tell by their countenance they're not worried about shit, man. Every time you see them, they smirking. They saying that they waiting on America to send troops. Okay, so this devil is losing control of the narrative, man. All right, you can't believe anything he says anymore. Like I said before, he's losing his credibility. All right, he's no longer credible because he's been caught in so many damn lies. Okay, because it's like it says in the scriptures, they are forgers of lies, man. All right, when they be estranged from the womb, when they be born, they go speaking lies. All right, so that's all that's in their nature, man, lies and deceit. Okay, but like I said, by the nation sobering up, these lies and this deceit no longer have power over these people, man. Okay, let's go to the book of Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 25 and verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. And that's starting with the Israelites, man. Okay, like I said, the Lord put it in the spirit for them to wake up and realize, the old ways, the old paths. And with that came the remembrance of who Esau Edom was, the so-called white man, which is the adversary, man. Okay, he's the antagonist of the whole story. All right, when you see a movie or you read a story, all right, you always have the main character, which is the protagonist, and then you have the antagonist, the evil one, who's always trying to bring him down. All right, that's Jacob and Esau. That's who this story is all about, man. Okay. Verse 7, it says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. That's pulling back the veil, okay, so they can see. All right. And the veil that is spread over all nations. Okay, like I said, it started with the Israelites. They woke up and then they went out into the highways and byways to declare his ways to his face. Okay, to stand up for the workers of iniquity, to stand up against the workers of iniquity and the evildoers, man. Okay, we've been saying it for years that the so-called white man is the devil and that he's getting ready to show his horns. All right, he's not to be trusted, as it says in Sirach 12 and 10, never trust thine enemy. Okay. So we've pushed that vibration for years. All right, starting with the elders and apostles, they've been pushing that vibration for decades, man. Okay, and people might not want to admit it, but they've heard these things from the Israelites, and then they turn around and witness the very exact thing that they have been saying for years, man. The people are starting to wake up and realize that, yeah, the Israelites were right, man. All right, they might not admit it, but they see that the so-called white man is the damn devil, man. Right, because that vibration has been put out into the earth, starting with the Israelites, man. Okay, now that veil has been lifted off of the rest of the nations. Okay, they're sobering up. All right, because for ages, people have been under the illusion, they have been under the influence of Babylon the Great. Okay, now that shit is wearing off because Babylon the Great is becoming weak, man. Jeremiah 51 and verse 7. It says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. But now they're, like I said, they're sobering up. Okay? Like it says in Revelation 18, you know, they drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. You know? So, you know, through all of this is going to be returned back upon Babylon, man. Like it just said, you know, the Lord is going to cause Babylon to drink of his own cup. That cup that have caused the other nations to drink and become naked, become vulnerable. Okay? Babylon the Great has drunken of that same cup because the Lord forced it to. Now she's vulnerable, man. Okay, now she's being embarrassed before the whole entire world. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 47 and verse 10, it says, For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, talking about the so-called white man. Thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. All right, because the Lord is putting spirit in these different nations to raise up against Babylon the Great, even the allies of Babylon the Great. All right, did you just see what Trump said about Japan in the presence of Japan's prime minister, making a joke about Pearl Harbor? Man, these other nations are gonna go to the enemies of Babylon the Great. You know, speaking about Babylon the Great's allies, man, they're gonna break that alliance and they're gonna backdoor America, man. And he's not even gonna know it. While he walking to and from the earth, popping his shit as if they don't need anybody, they're gonna say, okay, you don't need us? Okay, let's go holler at Russia. Let's go holler at China. You see what I'm saying? Man, it says, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. All right, because this is the will of the Lord. All right, nobody can deter the will of the Heavenly Father, man. All right, who can resist his will? It says here, it says, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt know not. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. All right, so the so-called white men have been working these things since the early days, man. Since the ancient days, excuse me. All right? That's how he strengthened himself, you know, in wickedness, man. Because of his deceits. Because of his sorceries, his enchantments, man. Here he is in these last days still trying to work these enchantments. When you see these mass shootings, and you see these damn psyops, these psychological operations, all right? These are enchantments that he's still trying to work to control the narrative, man. Desperately. Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. All right? And the Lord is taking up a taunting proverb against this devil, man. He's basically saying, you know, since you trust in your enchantments so much, let your enchantments, all right, and your sorceries deliver you. Let your enchantments and sorceries get you out of this hot water that I got you in. They can't, man. All right? Well, he's going to try to his damn dying day. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. He's not going to be able to prevail. It doesn't matter what he does, man. He's not going to prevail. Whether he tap into his enchantments, his sorceries, whether he tap in to his bloodlust, he's still not going to prevail because the war and the battle is already won, man. Okay? And the victory goes to the elect. All right? It goes to Yahweh Shai and the elect. Okay? So, Lord, why don't we be part of that number, man? All right? But, hey, this devil is losing the narrative, and it's a beautiful thing, man. All right? He's being made bare. He's being stripped of his dominance. All right? So, as he is being devalued, we are becoming more valued, man. Okay? As his stock drops, our stock is rising, man. All right? So, that's all I got for this lesson. I'm going to see you, Akim, and Akwaf on the next one, Lord willing. Shalom, wa, abba, abba.